have a lot to prove.
Yeah, they sure do. Hoej, we've only seen at the 2 latest Via Game House Cups, where he won Via Game House Cup 2, and he got through to the top 8 in the 3rd one. So in the tournaments we've seen him, Hoej has been doing great, but he's still like... from talking to him myself, I think that he still feels the need to like prove himself. And what better way would there be than like trying to win this huge tournament that we have here?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, people often forget that, in order to prove yourself in the first place, you have to come to the open qualifier portions, and that's what Hoej did. But was it a one-time fluke? I mean, that's something that he has to address it himself, and he wants to win, so that way he can prove it wasn't.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Hoej's decks? Because I've heard that he has a Control Paladin, actually.
No way.
Which we haven't seen in a while.
Control Paladin.
Yeah.
Like it's not even mid-range, it's control. It's slow.
So he was playing Stan Sifka yesterday off camera, and he told me a story about how he never attacked him. So Stan Sifka was playing Giants Mage, and he lay on hands at Stan Sifka to put him back at 30 so he couldn't play Molten Giants.
That's hilarious. I would have loved to see that game. But it also sounds like a really complicated and slow game, too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it certainly doesn't sound like anything that the mid-range paladins that we're used to see are capable of.
Yeah,
so I'm actually really excited to see that coming up. But at the match we have now, we have Druid versus what seems to be like quite a standard handlock. What do you guys think about this matchup?
Yeah, a lot of people peg handlock as the deck that's always on the defensive and weak to Druid, because Druid can be putting on a lot of pressure, especially with 2 Savage Roars and 2 Force of Natures. I mean, there was a period of time where people felt like Druid was great against, handlock was great against Druid because they couldn't answer threats. They only had 1 big game hunter. But when Druid started putting a lot of combo pressure on, it's just like anything else. Druid might get handlock might get shoved out of the game.
Cards like Piloted Shredder actually matter a lot in this matchup because even if you kill them, they come back, and it's so much worse than Druid's old 4-drops.
Oh, yikes.
Hey, it's a big thing too. Like before GVG, the Druids used to play Shieldvine Yeti instead of Piloted Shredder.
Yeah, exactly.
And like Piloted Shredder is so much better at trading up with Giants too, which is super relevant.
Yeah, you can hit a Giant with a Shredder and then swipe the Giant, and that's just so good for you.
Oh, and you still have something left. The thing with
exactly.
The thing that happened with the Shieldvine Yeti was that you just like got left with nothing, and just having a small 2-drop is like really relevant to such a deck as Druid because we're double Savage Roar.
About this game, I actually think you may have noticed Faramir missed his 4-drop, which is so huge in this matchup.
Game's over, by the way. If you just drew the Claw Savage Roar.
Oh.
The game's over. But yeah, keep on going.
Yeah, because on turn 4, Faramir didn't have a play. Even though Hoej actually has Keeper for a potential Twilight Drake, he would have still traded and something, but he didn't have anything, and that's really bad for handlock.
Right. I mean, you did have to kill the Shade, but it's just like you said, there wasn't any ability to seize the board. And Faramir did have a couple of choices here. He had the opportunity to go for a Siphon Soul on the Thorson, but he chose to play his own Thorson very quickly. And so I guess, obviously, considering that, he ended up dying and paying the price for it, but do you think he played that turn too quickly, or was that the right choice?
Well, that's a much more ambitious play, but I don't think Siphon Souling and leaving Hoej with minions is a winning play.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I like to play too. Like Faramir's in a really bad spot. He has to play to win. Like he's not playing not to lose, which is it. And I think the chances to make him win the game is that like Hoej is on like a lot of air and just minions. And if you play Emperor, you can somehow seize advantage of the board that way.
Let's say Hoej's hand there is maybe Belcher, Lores, Wild Growth even, something like that. That's when Faramir can seize back the initiative with the Tharsan. And even though he ended up having the burst damage, I think it was still correct.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you can just look past it because Faramir did win the first game, so the series is tied 1-1.
Yeah.
That was very quick, and he immediately queues up the Patron. Or is he playing Patron? I think he is. We saw Faramir before.
Hoej queues up Paladin.
Oh, so we get to see the Control Paladin versus the Patron Warrior. What do you guys think about this? I would feel like this should be a really bad matchup for the Paladin. Then again, I might be wrong here.
See, the thing is, people always told me that the Paladin struggles against... Oh, it's not a Patron Warrior.
Oh, this is not Patron. Oh,
Well-
Control Paladin versus Control Warrior.
Well, in that case.
What year is it?
Well, you mean if you asked me 6 months ago when BlizzCon was still going on, then yeah, maybe you'd see this matchup. But generally speaking, people really phased out Control Paladin for a long time.
Yeah.
Even when Goblins vs. No One came out, Control Paladin definitely got an injection of life, but it was mid-range Paladin that was taking the
Yeah,
limelight.
because Minibot and Muster are really good at pressuring your opponents, and that's not what Hoej is looking to do here, though.
He's going to hit the hero power button a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, as the game goes on.
Do you Minibot or Hero Power here?
I think Minibot's really efficient against whatever he plays, but what happens... actually, no, it's fine. He has 2 silver champions.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you don't want to ever play something where you realize your opponent can capitalize on an Acolyte, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the keys to the matchup is definitely like not giving them enough
You
cards
have
from their
better
Acolyte.
you have better card advantage, so you just have to not let them draw 10 cards
Right.
off Acolyte.
I mean, I was told that this matchup is so one-sided for Control Paladin, but I think it's changed a lot since Warriors have figured out how to play it better. They realize Whirlwind effects are really powerful. They do have to time their brawl effectively. It's a lot like the Warrior versus Shaman matchup. If the Warrior knows how to play, even though it is really hard and one-sided usually, the Warrior increases chances dramatically because they can save their resources accordingly.
I mean, you have Death Spite in Warrior now, which is just kind of an incidental way to clear 1/1s. And that's really nice. Back then, when you're talking about the old Control Warrior versus Control Paladin, you didn't have that at all.
Right. Well, he's got no weapons at this point, so Faramir is stuck doing the good old Hero Power Pass. Armor
Hero
up.
Power Pass is much better in Paladin than in
Than in Warrior. Well, at least in this matchup. Until you get Magni and then you have the amazing Hammer Smash and you gain the armor. Now that will be epic. I don't mind doing that every turn.
Oh, no.
Does
That-
your Hero
that
Power
would be
turn
great.
into Shield Slam?
I really like the
That'd be sick.
greedy play there by Faramir. Hero Paladin was considering using his Shield Slam on the Paladin Shredder just because the minions that are on the board right now contest the Sludge Belcher pretty well, but he decided to hold on to it because he realizes that to win this matchup you actually have to get like a little bit greedy with your removal and like not use them as aggressively as you usually do. But then again, we see like Hoej also in a really good way, like just pushing a little ahead. Just not overcommitting to the board, trying to bait out some
Right.
form of sweeper or mass removal. But Faramir knows that he can't really use it at this point because then that's exactly what Hoej wants.
The Paladin's best form of burst damage is True Silver, but that's still 8 damage over 2 turns, so Faramir can take a bit of damage here.
Absolutely. Then again, except that Hoej has like somewhat of a weak turn here, he has like so many good threats in his hand that I don't really see like how the answers that Faramir has in hand are like really valuable. Like you really don't want to use Brawl early because that just gives the Paladin so much opportunity to run away with the board later in the game.
Yeah, if you Brawl and they Muster, it's a really bad feeling.
Yeah. I'm really surprised to see, expecting that this would be like the really Control Paladin. I was expecting like Wild Pyromancer's equalities.
I don't know.
But seeing how like a Knife Juggler was in the deck, I'm a bit confused now.
I mean,
have to
he
admit.
told me it was Control Paladin. I didn't see it. I didn't see his game.
It's super greedy, too. Like, we've seen some people top out their Paladin decks with, like, Kael'Thuzad. Life Coach is actually doing that.
Yeah.
And they don't mind taking it to the late game. But I haven't seen it be super effective in a long time.
I mean, KT is really good in mid-range decks, too, because if you're ahead, then you can make a really weird trade and just play KT.
Shield block is a huge
That's
draw there
really
for Faramir. Otherwise, like what he was relying on to power up his Shield Slam was a Shield Maiden, and like Shield Maiden and then slamming a Sylvanas is just not a thing you can do. So drawing that Shield block there to gain that extra armor to be able to remove it is so huge, especially because he now has the answer to the turn 7 Doctor Boom in the BJH. Which is Hoej's only target in the deck, I will assume, for BJH, because most Paladin just run Doctor Boom.
Do you like, yeah, I like that play. I was thinking about, if you Taskmaster there, a Boombot instead, but this is much better.
Yeah, I really like
Ooh.
putting the Belcher out there.
When you're curving out with threats like this in the control matchups, it's pretty devastating. I mean, if he doesn't, his opponent will play Ysera on curve, too.
To be honest, Hoej has no equality for Ysera.
He's got an Owl, so he at least reduces its effect off, but...
But A 412 is the biggest guy killer.
Yeah, but then again, like Hoej is just pushing here. He already has Faramir down to 17 and has like a pretty good board. He does this because he knows that the Brawl is already used, so if he builds up a huge board, it's pretty hard for Faramir to actually deal with it. Although we see him having a really great turn with both Cruel, Armsmith and Belcher, that will really stop the aggression.
I like that play instead of Ysera because of you just push much harder for the board here.
Yeah, I really like it too. You can play Ysera when the board has become somewhat clear, and there's like no rush to get Ysera out. That's what I mean. Like when you're stabilized, that's when you play Ysera. Like right now, he's still trying to get the board under control, and it looks like it's doing a great job of doing so.
And Armorsmith can give him so much life here.
Absolutely.
Especially if he was concerned about the Paladin bursting him down.
That's just one of Warrior Control's biggest strengths, that hiding an Armsmith behind a Belcher, rather. It gives you just like every aggro deck, or like any deck that tries to push for damage. Like we're not seeing an aggro deck here from Hoej, but any deck that tries to push for damage just has such huge trouble dealing with that, because not only do they have to commit a lot of damage to killing the Belcher, but also they gain life meanwhile.
That's a really good draw.
Oh yeah, sure is.
Now you can, now you can trade for the Tyrion with the Owl.
I want to point out here how rewarded Faramir get for like putting an Owl into Warrior Control, which is not really standard these days.
Yeah, I mean, people haven't thought about Silence being in Warrior deck for a long time. Back in the day, it was like Spellbreaker, if you can remember a year back.
You have to Owl stuff earlier now.
Yeah.
I actually had an Owl in my deck for this tournament. I really like it in Warrior. You just need to silence like Mad Scientists and even maybe Leper Gnomes now, so it's much, much better.
On curve against aggro decks, Owl's surprisingly useful because you don't always get the Fiery War Axe. And even then, do you Fiery War Axe like a Hunter Creeper? Not really.
Absolutely not.
Especially against Hunter, for example. Because they can't ping it in some way, so...
Yeah. Well, that's kind of one of the most feeble consecrations you'll ever see. Killing off an Owl and a Gold Shower Footman.
He just wants...
the board control.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and Faramir to use the Death Spite on the Pilot the Sky Golem here.
That is, with the muster in hand, that is a huge heresy.
That's going to be 3 draws. That's insane.
Oh, and they got the best card from Ysera, possibly.
Not bad. Not bad.
I assume at this point that this game isn't going to fatigue.
No, absolutely not.
It's starting to escalate very quickly.
Because sometimes in the control warrior mirror, you have to think about when you Harrison, because you don't always want to draw 2 cards, ironically. But here you definitely want to draw as many as possible to just burst advantage your opponent out of the game.
Yeah, although, I mean, he's going to try to take away True Silver if that's what he goes for, because Hoej is relatively close to killing off the Warrior. Although it's not always guaranteed, because like you said, if your opponent had the ability to pump back up to Alexstrasza, how does Paladin win from there? Because you sacrifice a lot of damage to go to face.
Yeah, Hoej is kind of all in on this plan. Like we saw that with a very not so valuable consecration last turn, that is really trying to push the game and end it in like a couple of turns here. His game. And what it does here is like really consistent to what it's trying to what it's been trying to do all this game.
I'm not 100% with him on the plan of silencing Ysera, just because to me, when he consecrates and when he True Silvers there, he's signifying that he just wants to kill Faramir. But then he kind of changes plans right away by silencing Ysera instead of maybe saving it for a Sludge Belcher.
Oh, what we're trying to say is that we're trying to end the game next turn, and therefore the dream card that you get from Ysera won't matter anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. But then again, you went through double Belcher already, so it's really unlikely that you actually need to silence something. Like, what else but Belcher is there really to... I guess an Armorsmith, but that like does its job this turn, and it's not like it can hide it behind the taunt anyway.
This is really tough for Faramir. But he is going to survive, but it's going to be pretty close.
Oh yeah, 1 life. If Faramir could turn the game around from here, that would be pretty epic.
I mean, honestly, Hoej's used both Consecrations and both True Silvers, Sylvanas, Tyrion, and Boom, and a Sky Golem.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he has much more to go on. I think you just axe here, right?
Try to end the game as soon as possible. You have the
It is within striking distance,
Because
though.
you want a Grommash next turn, I think. Or shield. Actually,
Yeah.
you probably want a shield maiden next turn.
I think you just shield main next turn, and you try to finish the game within not the next turn, but the turn after
yeah,
that.
with a Grommassera, with Grommassera Awakens.
Grommassera Awakens just so much damage. That's 15 damage right of the hand with no other board.
Grom and Ysera are best friends. 3 of Ysera's dream cards actually are very, very good with Grommash.
At enraging Grommash, yeah.
Yeah, but
Not
Ysera
just enraging, just letting him through.
Yeah.
Sorry, Frodo?
No, you're right. I mean, Ysera Awakened doesn't exactly fit too well. I mean, the fact is you still push yourself within the same range. You gain 5 life, you lose 5 life with the shield main. So right now it's tough because he doesn't have a real Grommash activator unless he can get enough health to make it so that he can Ysera Awakens and push past the whatever's there.
Oh man, this will be the best quartermaster.
Oh, if he draws it, that's just game over right there.
He can't clear out the tokens.
No, he just has to hope that there's no quartermaster in.
He can actually.
hand.
Yeah, sorry.
You can shield bait on Ysera Awakens, but I don't know. That might be playing the game like a little bit too defensive, I'd say. Although you have the option of like you have what you need in hand, I think, to actually end the game with what you already have. The thing is that this card in Hoej's hand has been basically in his hand the whole game, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And so it really signalizes a quartermaster to Faramir, I'd say.
Oh, that's huge, actually.
You think so?
I mean, he can still Grob.
It doesn't push for more damage, and he really needs it.
I mean, from Hoej's perspective, now Ysera can't kill the 3/3.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
he has a Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, but he's
Oh,
super low.
man.
Well, okay.
Shield block is really nice too. But like Paladin, even considering this, wouldn't be able to push for the lethal because he has Grommash and he'd be able to clear the board.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that Warrior could have answered this too. It's like Grommash, Alexstrasza, or even just drawing shield block. And in this case, Faramir is trying to be as defensive as possible while still being able to threaten to maybe lethal.
That's what I like about what he's doing here. Oh, whoa. I mean, I don't think we'll see Hoej win next turn, but Faramir can't deal with his board.
Well, we'll see. He still has the top of his deck.
Oh, well.
To which he pays due honor to. He just has to
That's
rub
the
his hands
factor
a
I
little bit,
eliminated.
clap twice, and do a twirl.
Oh.
Let's see what shield block draws.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good when you're at
That's
1
a
life.
really good draw for next turn, but he has to armor up an axe here, which doesn't feel great.
His opponent has 9 damage, right? He's at 9 life, so he's going to have to cross his fingers for no more additional damage.
But both consecrations have been used, and if I recall correctly,
Both True Silvers.
both True Silvers.
He has a muster left, though. Oh, but muster doesn't do damage
It
because he
doesn't
already
do
has
any
Light
damage at
Justice.
the moment. Let's see.
Unless he's playing, like, out of nowhere a big threat like Ragnaros.
Oh, would Coghammer do it?
Coghammer.
No, it would be 1-off.
Yeah.
He's so close every time. It's crazy.
I mean, Alexstrasza doesn't actually save Faramir 100%. If the top card of Hoej's deck is...
Quartermaster?
yeah, or Lay on Hands. Oh, Armor Smith. Oh, doesn't do anything this turn,
No, you certainly just have to Alex yourself this turn.
clearly.
Go up to 15.
I like that play as well, because now he's not dead to Quartermaster.
It looks like Faramir has been able to
Yeah,
stabilize this
what's
game
happening?
from 1
I
life.
thought the...
Oh, well, there's
man,
the Lay on Hands.
Never mind.
Well, I was going to say, I thought Paladin was supposed to outcard the Warrior.
Ooh.
Yeah, most of the time, but we just didn't saw Hoej with the cards to do that. Like, he didn't draw any Lay on Hands.
He drew double True Silver, and Faramir wasn't really playing minions that died to True Silver. So Hoej just pushed for damage with them, and that's like 2 cards gone, having only dealt damage to his face, which is fine. Faramir went very low, but those cards are kind of gone now.
Did something just ding?
Do you guys like Boom Armorsmith here? Or, yeah, Execute as well.
Boom
Yeah,
Armor
I'm okay
Smith.
parting ways. Although he did draw 3 cards off of it, you just have to consider what threats are remaining in the Paladin deck. But you're mentioning it, Christian, that he actually used most of his threats by now.
Yeah.
That Kel'Thuzad is literally the last threat in the Paladin deck, I think.
He doesn't have anything on board to take advantage of the KT, unless he top decks Equality here.
Oh, my God.
That is so nice. Ooh, and Hoej is known for being a little too cheeky. Faramir is obviously not happy to see that. And I mean,
well, I imagine that he'll tilt more when he sees the KT.
yeah. Well, Faramir is actually a really emotional player.
Yeah.
Wears his heart on his sleeve.
Or on the outside of his hoodie. Watch. Watch, 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 watch. It's going to be terrible.
Be prepared.
Oh, man. And then now with all these minions spawning, Boombot's going to be less impactful.
I can't believe it.
And all of a sudden, we see
Oh. Wow, that's also a great draw, too.
He should use that on a Sylvanas.
I really hope that Faramir emotes back here. I'm disappointed.
That was clever. Well,
Thank you.
I mean, now we've gotten to the point where this is what I actually thought would happen in this matchup, where Paladin can just start grinding the Warrior out of the game.
I'm so surprised to actually see this work somewhat, where it's like all of a sudden switching gears.
Well, that equality.
It was the lay on hands and the equality that did it.
Absolutely.
They just granted him so much reach. That wasn't through damage, but just through pure card advantage.
You know, you were talking about this game wasn't probably going to go to fatigue based off the early game plays, which was, you know, I was behind you on that, but they're actually pretty deep in their deck. 5 and 6 cards remain on both sides.
Well, going to fatigue means a lot of things, because you can go to fatigue and like you start taking 1 to 2 damage, but I'm not sure this game will go to the stage where they're taking 5-6 damage and they're losing to fatigue.
Well, no. I mean, Warrior's also almost out of threats, too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what else he really has. I think he has another Death Bite, right?
If he has Baron Geddon in his deck, I know some players have been playing it recently. But
Right. Baron Geddon is still really good at dealing with aggro. He's also worried about Quartermaster, too, because he hasn't played Quartermaster.
He's been doing a really good job of playing around Quartermaster by He killed off Silverhand Recruit over the Murloc Tide Collar, I think it's called.
Yeah, with Alex Straza.
Yeah, earlier. And just to like, if he has Quartermaster, which is likely at this point, it would be like 1 less damage. So I really like how Faramir is doing a good job of that. But
though with 4 cards, I can't really see him having more than 1 Quartermaster.
yeah, like the thing now too is that Faramir knows that he's at a disadvantage, and he really is just play from the board. He can't really play around a lot of at the moment. Oh, there we see it.
Well,
but Sylvanas is also still there.
I think you just kill off your minions here, and then you Quartermaster 1 recruit. Because then you still have...
Can you not just let it steal whatever, and then you Quartermaster
Oh, yeah, you
the
can
rest?
make him steal 1/1. Yeah, that's true. I glossed over that.
Oh, it's because you still have the weapon up, and that actually becomes useful here.
You have to leave the Lotheb, but that's completely fine. Warrior's out of burst, and you're at 24, so...
You saw the Grommash.
Is there a downside to Quartermastering? I guess it does die to the Lotheb pretty easily.
Yeah, it does, but then again, I think what it's trying to figure out is if he can get more value out of it, and if he's fine just playing a heal bot this turn. But I think you just have to play it here.
You can also, if this game does go to fatigue, you can kind of surprise Warrior with the heal bot in the late game, but...
You're right. You're right about that. But it's also 3 damage on the board, which it could end up mounting to be too much pressure.
Oh, yeah.
And exactly as you said, Froden, it looks like Warrior's just running out of threats now.
Well, Warrior has his own 1/1. The only problem is that Paladin has an infinite source of 1/1s.
Stay strong, Silverhand Recruit. You can do this.
Well, there's Paladin's Harrison.
Yeah, but way too late. There is a Death Bite, but
there is a Death
the
Bite,
thing you care about most is the damage.
Yeah, and I don't see Faramir coming back from this.
And also we saw Hoej sacrificing his Acolyte to Pain last turn, for example.
Yeah, that was really smart.
Yeah, meaning that he's like really afraid of how many cards he wants to draw. A great game there. We saw Hoej going for one game plan, sticking to it, and when he saw that wouldn't work out, he just switched gears and won that way instead.
He didn't really have a choice, though, when you get the only card in your hand is Lay on Hands. It's like, well, you know, I'm facing against Alex Straza and Dr. Boom. I guess I'll draw quality.
I mean, that's a really valuable skill in Hearthstone, to be able to just decide this game plan isn't going to work out.
Oh, for sure.
I should change my strategy to fit what my opponent is trying to do.
Yeah. There's an entire anime dedicated around doing exactly that action. Believe it or not. I'm not even joking.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Hoej has blonde hair. I mean, it makes all sense. So, there it is.
Well played.
There it is. All right, another one. One drop right off the top there. He didn't have it initially.
Greetings, Leopard Gnome.
No
I'm
cool
classic.
Taskmaster either for Faramir to take initiative on the board.
One thing that I've noticed is that Faramir kept the shield block in his opening hand. Do we have thoughts on that?
I kind of like it, but at the same time, it's kind of greedy.
Yeah, I don't like it at all because I feel that you really need the Armor Smith, the Cruel Taskmasters, and the Fiery War Axes to just like shield block is something I use later in the game because I want to stabilize. It's definitely not something I want to play on turn 3, and playing early game against not losing in the early game against Hunter is like your biggest priority for sure.
What are your guys' thoughts on keeping Sludge Belcher in this matchup?
I don't do it for the reason I just said. I think it's actually more reasonable than keeping shield block because I think you want to play shield block most of the time, even later than you play Belcher.
Yeah.
But I do not like it just because the early game is so important, and we can actually see here that Faramir is falling behind quite quickly here.
I agree a lot with what you're saying.
If you let the thing is about Face Hunter, if you let Face Hunter hit more than once with their threats, they get so much value out of these charge minions, and it's just really bad for you.
Yeah. You see, I was just gonna say, if he doesn't draw out exactly Cruel Taskmaster here, Faramir will be in a lot of trouble. But he skillfully peels it from the top.
Notice the high main in Hoej's hand.
Yeah, it's a hybrid hunter that we've seen a lot lately.
Not sure I like that owl.
I expect Hoej at this point, since I see a high main, to be running freezing traps.
Yeah.
And I agree that freezing trap is valuable against warrior, but I'm actually fine freezing Acolyte Pain at this point. The thing is that warrior doesn't even need to attack into freezing trap because they can just hide behind stuff like Sludge Belchers. And there are actually some creatures that you actually don't want to freezing trap, like
Shield Maiden.
Like Shield Maiden, for example. So I would actually went for the trap there, but I can actually see the merits of this play too.
The best feeling is freezing trapping your own anti-kill bot.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we see Hoej just needed some kind of action here to follow up into his Hymen the next turn, and Glaive Soka, it's definitely not bad because it's pushing for quite a bit of damage here.
I do see a juicy Harrison target though.
But really, like the thing is, if you Harrison, they just like hit you for 2 and play a high main.
Yeah, but Harrison matches up pretty well against high main, and he gets kind of rid of 2 damage.
I forgot about the death spite there. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, now this is actually not... Oh, but there's a freezing trap up. Never mind.
Oh,
yeah, the
matters.
high main is protected by this freezing trap, which is what Hoej what Hoej wanted to set up for.
Well, Faramir actually knows he's played an owl, so he can just Sludge Belcher here. Or he can do the play I think he's going to do, which is block, task, execute.
Oh, yeah. Originally, I thought he was going to task and then Big Game Hunter to get it on the board, but this also makes sense, too.
Oh, yeah, especially he doesn't want to play Big Game Hunter because if he doesn't know Hoej's decks, this might be explosive still.
Fair enough.
He is definitely playing around freezing. We see him not
Yeah,
attack
he
with the
holds
Harrison.
back.
Oh, yeah,
attack.
but it's kind of a hedge.
Absolutely. I like the shield block. If you don't block there, you will be in range of kill command, which is absolutely something you want to avoid at every cost.
And the turn after next turn, I think you're going to start armoring up almost every turn.
Oh, so you can play the Belcher and armor up next turn, followed by Shield Maiden and armor up. That just goes perfectly.
Well, what it does is it negates the Hunter's hero power, which is really effective to try to push for the win usually, but in this scenario, you equalize.
Hoej can actually unleash and kill Taskmaster if he wants to. It doesn't seem too strong when he's trying to Taskmaster, but if he wants to if he doesn't want to freeze Taskmaster, that's a possibility.
I don't think I think I'd rather just trade with a hyena if I'm doing that and like get in those hero powers there, because like every single point of damage counts at this point.
Yeah, what I do like about saving the Houndmasters, or sorry, not the Houndmasters, the Unleash the Hounds, is the fact that Kill Command is in your hand. Yeah. And if you lose those beasts on board, Kill Command is only going to be 3 damage.
Yeah.
Although it's still pretty hard to clear those hyenas, especially with Freezing Trap out.
I actually think not hero powering may have been a mistake. That's so important here.
Hoej seems to be on the plan that this game is ending in 1 or 2 turns, and therefore
I think Hoej's in the mindset where this kill command plus whatever he draws in the next turn or two might be the finishing blow.
I think Faramir disagrees. I mean, he doesn't want this game to end in 10 in 1 or 2 turns.
He'd like to disagree, but, you know, like so many great arguments in my life, it's not my choice to make.
I mean, Axe? Oh.
And Sludge Belcher. He's giving him a chance. I mean, right now, another piece of damage, direct damage, like Quick Shot, ends the game.
I mean, he has Kill Command, or he can just draw Eagle Horn Bow. And Hoej advances.
Yeah, there it is. Well, pretty clear here, and Faramir is not going to be able to stand a chance. Took a little bit too much damage. And like you said, a combination of greedy plays ends up costing him in
I think
match.
that was a misplay. He should have Arcane Golem the Sludge Belcher token.
Oh, well.
I would have liked it for the style points, but Hoej ends up advancing. You know what? He does it with the mix of decks that control Paladin being able to win. And you know what? Most players are saying control Paladin or just, you know, things in general that aren't Hunter, Warlock, Patron, and maybe like a Druid. It's very impressive to see him still this far with the control Paladin.
I mean, sorry, I think it's just a greedier mid-range Paladin, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, he told you someone. Who did he tell? It was a control Paladin?
Oh,
he told you?
He told me. I don't know.
Oh, maybe he's trying to throw you off.
Oh, man.
Like, yeah, I'm playing dragons. Like, Dragon Consort in my Paladin deck.
One thing I want to take away from this match that Hoej did that was something that I really admire was how he went with his game plans and he really stuck to them to the end. We see a lot of players do that where like are somewhere in between two game plans, and that usually doesn't end up well. But Hoej really had a plan in mind and executed them really, really well. And I was actually really impressed by his play all of this series.
Faramir actually did it sort of differently. I think he was on the plan where he was playing around Freezing Trap by not attacking, but then he suddenly decided to attack into it.
I think it was more of that he didn't have a choice at that point.
Yeah, and also he wanted to proc it before Bow comes out.
Yeah, fine.
So.
All right, well, that wraps up the series. Thank you so much, guys, for stopping by. We don't have time for an interview. In fact, we had to take a break and get ready for our next match, which I believe is Tice up against Frezar. And that's an awesome one because we haven't seen Frezar perform too well, and he's a Swedish player that people often forget. You know, Orange taking the spotlight all the time, you know, trying to make it as the up-and-coming Swede. But Frezar is a great player. Tice, of course, has been around for a while. It was a year ago since he made his debut, and I think we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have more Hearthstone action here at DreamHack Summer 2015.